So first of all, I'd like to say thanks to all the sponsors, everybody that makes this happen. It's a great cross-section of the industry that's here. In particular, I think I'd like to thank Ken for his presentation earlier, talking about diabetes. It'll let me run through lunch, and nobody will have any arguments on going over time. We'll keep you all healthier. And Dan and Jim have provided an eloquent background on other National Science Foundation systems awarded through this program. So there's a lot of shared information, and I won't repeat those details, but can certainly go into them if desired. A little bit of background about me. I've been at IU since 1998. I have a background in support, system administration, and high-performance computing, and I'm a huge proponent of these user groups. Participated for the last 10 years in the board of the IBM HPC user group, SPXXL, and I'm in my 5th year serving on the board of the Cray user group, and so I think it's a great way for us to collaborate, and really commend you guys for taking the time to be here. So I'm also a recovering hardware junkie, and you know, it's hard because a lot of this is software for me. So you know, I get excited when we talk about flops and bytes and bits and Fitbits and everything else. But this has really excited me in terms of thinking about not what the system is in terms of hardware, but what we can do with software and open source software moving forward. Craig Stewart sends his regards. You can blame him for any of the words you don't like in this presentation. He's on a travel hiatus at the moment, and you can blame me for any images you don't like. So I guess, what is Jetstream? It's the first cloud for science and engineering across all areas of the National Science Foundation. And it sounds a little nuanced because it is. There are other cloud projects, even ones that we've led, but they've been focused test beds for computer science or other audiences. We have recent awards that you may have heard about, like Chameleon and Cloud Lab, that are available and becoming available to groups now. But this is really, Jetstream is really focused on a production environment. We're focused on providing a different level of usability to users.
I think your mic isn't turned on about where the box is.
Oh, it's not. Thank you.
Thanks. Sorry.
That's good, because I like to roam around. So as you can see, we do want to have this focus on usability. So it's not just in lip service, but the current tools we're basing the project on have that focus today, and we really hope to continue that with this project. So who's going to use it? We're hoping to target the same or a lot of similar non-traditional communities that Jim just talked about. I think between looking at Wrangler and Bridges and Jetstream, we can kind of triangulate some of these communities. So there's really good overlap. There's the Hadoop usage that doesn't fit well on Jetstream may be a great fit for Wrangler or for Bridges. And some of the specific interactive VM use in a different scale than what's supported today will be well supported on Jetstream and not as well supported on something like Wrangler. So I really hope we're targeting an environment that hasn't been very well targeted in the past. A back end to supporting science gateways, that's a common theme as well. That's something we've been doing for a number of years at IU with persistent VMs. So not only will we have persistent virtual machines in this environment, but you'll see the more on-demand, self-provision type utilization that people have come to expect with things like Amazon and Microsoft Azure. So what's in a name? Jetstream, it sounds kind of corny. You have to come up with something cloud related, right? Is it really a cloud? I think we can have these debates on elasticity and expansibility. I think every cloud to some extent has a finite amount of resources, but according to the NIST definition, we pretty much fit as a cloud environment. The Jetstream lies at the border between two different air masses, and we hope this environment lies at the border and the intersection of existing users that are well served by high performance computing and advanced cyber infrastructure that's provided through the NSF programs today, and users that are not yet a part of the XD or Exceed ecosystem. Our software layers, we're using the tools that many of you guys are rolling out in new projects, tools that we have experience with. The Atmosphere one is probably one you may not be familiar with. It's essentially a gateway or portal, as you may call it, front end for OpenStack that's being used as part of the iPlant collaborative, and will be a great resource to enhance the usability of these cloud systems. We don't want to just provide an option where you go in and you say, here's 36 different buttons, configure your VLAN, go. That's not something most domain scientists want to undertake, and it's something we feel that we can simplify in this project. Here's a mock-up of Atmosphere, and today they're providing in the bioinformatics realm, biology realm, well over 300 different virtual machines in this environment. So this is what it may look like in Jetstream. You can see this today if you head over to the iPlant collaborative, and two of the co-investigators on iPlant are also co-investigators on Jetstream. So there's a lot of overlap and invested interest in their roadmaps and how they apply to this system. You know, there's been traditionally, maybe not always, an aggressive stance or between users and administrators. And I couldn't resist the long tail pun here of science, but we really are after that long tail of science, courting those users, as Jim highlighted some really good areas that aren't well served by existing systems on this environment. We formulated the basis for this environment, the proposal, on a number of different areas, but specifically we examined the Exceed Cloud Report from 2013 that was led by David Livka, and in it we use Jetstream to target 10 of the 12 use cases in there, and these are respondents that are already funded by the NSF. So you could say they're probably better positioned than most, and we found that they needed these resources. They lacked resources, and they're already funded. We hope we can target some of those 80 projects with Jetstream and bring them into this environment where they've not been using traditional Exceed systems. You know, this is part and something we talked about yesterday, where we may not be the best at this all the time, as was indicated by the back and forth we saw with PayPal, but the interaction of economic development, the new workforce, and embracing both our biases from each side and establishing collaborations. So we hope to use this platform as a nice way with some of our partners to be able to reach into those experiences that are in the public sector or commercial sector that are already available, and leverage those experiences, best practices, and bring them to the HPC community in the form of this cloud environment. We also have some experience doing this in-house in private clouds for targeted gateways, virtual machines, supporting those environments. We've been doing that under the TerraGrid and now under Exceed for a few years, and have a couple hundred of these VMs supporting this infrastructure. And then internally, as we moved data centers a few years ago at IU, we had a huge push to virtualize and have moved 3,000 systems into VMs in our own internal private cloud. So we hope to leverage a lot of these technologies and experiences and move from this persistent environment to something much more dynamic and usable for researchers. We have a number of different sample cases, and I'll highlight those through the partners, but not dive into each project. Gateways that can be supported, and we plan to support on Jetstream. QuakeSim is a good one, interactive type work, hosting the back-end services that are necessary for persistent science gateways at a reliable scale. So this is where we get to talk about hardware, and I'm actually going to skim most of this detail. But overall, what you should get from this picture is we have a multi-site deployment. Our test environment will be located at the University of Arizona. The production hardware will be split between TAC in Austin and Indiana University in Bloomington. We'll be standing that up later this summer, as I'll indicate a little later. The deployment partners, in addition to the ones hosting hardware, are the University of Chicago, providing the data tools and integrating, federating authentication with existing environments, as well as Johns Hopkins University, and some overlap with the Galaxy community and being supported by this resource as well. Then in the maintenance and operation phase, we'll bring on some more funded partners, targeting virtual workshops, targeting the Open Cloud Lab at the University of Texas San Antonio, and they have some great relationships with commercial partners that we hope to leverage those experiences and those people for testing and making our environment as robust as possible on this open stack. These are all the additional collaborators, and I think what's really great in looking at these, and there's a lot of familiar names in the community here, but just how we're trying to engage them in the project. In our initial meeting with all the partners that we're discussing the project with, we brought in these partners that did not have any funding in the deployment phase, and we want to listen to them. And we brought them in and said, what are your needs as we develop our roadmap, as we develop our project execution plan, as we look at the next 4 or 5 years, how can we support your needs and how can we be responsive to that? And that's a stance I think we don't often do enough in creating or responding to these hardware acquisitions, because we want to engineer the fastest and greatest system, and taking the time to listen to what these groups had was really valuable, and we hope to continue to keep them engaged. We will continue to keep them engaged going forward. So the timeline, we hope our time doesn't run out here shortly, but we'll be getting test gear yet this quarter. We have quite old Westmere-based test environment. Be upgrading that to match the production hardware. Troubleshoot any issues specifically related to networking or other pieces as we look at deploying a much larger system. Hopefully later this month, and move into bringing the production hardware into place this summer. And that's early in terms of looking at when we plan to go production in January. But I think it's because the focus is really on the software and making this robust, finalizing the pieces we need to integrate this environment and make it well used. So if there's nothing else, all these images are either by you, licensed by Creative Commons. These are the attributions, and if you have any questions, I'll be here the rest of the day. Take a few now. Not any questions about R, but we'll take your questions. So, thank you.